Hey guys, what is up and welcome to my Xerath PBE preview of the rework. In this video, I will be showing you all of the new skills and what changed, if I think it's good, if I think it's bad, and pretty much more or less what you can expect once this man hits the Summoner's Rift on the live server. Don't forget to keep in mind that this is on the PBE server, meaning that things are not final as you see them right now. For example, some of the animations don't even exist for his E or even his auto attack, so remember, things may change as he finally hits the live server. So his new passive is pretty much a mana sustain passive, where every 10 seconds his next auto attack will return about 4% of his max mana. Now keep in mind that this actually gets tripled if you use the auto attack on an enemy champion. It is not necessarily a bad passive because it's important to have mana sustain in the lane without relying on items. Also, Xerath's new kit does cost a lot of mana with his Q, his W, and even his E, so this is quite essential in order to make sure you can cast more than 3 spells without going out of mana instantly. So his Q ability, even though it has no animation when you use it right now, is pretty similar to his old one. However, the changes are the fact that it works a lot like Vi's Q, in the sense that you can press and hold it and it will charge, and the longer you charge it for, the longer the range will be, but the damage will remain the same. It's not a bad skill, but the main thing I have a problem with this is that fact that it takes a long time to actually fire. So you hold the Q, okay fine, they see you charging it, but then once you let go, the time that it takes for you from the time that you let go to actually firing it is still quite a bit, and it's more than enough to try and dodge it. So that's the only problem I have with it. However, on the bright side, the range you can go up to at level 5 is actually pretty impressive. It's very nice to snipe people down with. The mana cost is quite heavy, to be honest. Also, the damage is mediocre. It's not anything super impressive. So overall, an average skill. Then let's jump into his W, which is probably my favorite skill that he has and also the best one. This one is pretty much his old ultimate, but now in a regular skill format. It does AoE damage and slows everyone that's hit. Also, anyone that's in the center will take additional about 30% damage, so kind of similar to a Leona ultimate. The range on the W is also pretty good. The mana cost is quite high as well, but it makes up for the range and the damage it does. Also, the cast time is quite quick, so it's not as easy to dodge as the Q, for instance. So overall, definitely his best skill other than possibly his ultimate. His E ability is pretty similar to his old one, even though the animation is not there yet. This time it's a skill shot rather than a target. However, the skill itself now stuns rather than having to use it and then land either your Q or your ulti like before. All in all, it's a pretty mediocre skill with mediocre damage. It's not bad because now that you stun initially with the spell, it's pretty good to use to set up your W, your Q, and even your ultimate. So overall, a decent skill as well. And finally, his ultimate, which is probably his most interesting spell. At the same time, I feel like it's also the most anticlimactic one. The reason I say that is because the animation seems very poor, but I'm hoping that they're not done with it just yet, because right now it feels like he's just firing these tiny little like water droplets on people, and I'm kind of thinking, how does that even do any damage? But what it does is first it reveals a huge area around Xerath, kind of like Quinn's bird, and then you can fire small AoE bolts anywhere within that area 4 times, and it's extremely good to snipe people down because the range is huge. The damage is pretty good. It's nothing to laugh at, that's for sure. It will hurt if you get hit at least 2 times. However, the burst damage that it does is nowhere near on the same level as the current Xerath ultimate. That's something to keep in mind, but it does make up for that with having intense, huge, long range. And one more thing is that Xerath does take about 20% reduced damage while he's in this state at level 3. So overall, a pretty good ultimate, but I hope they change the animation on it just a bit. So that's pretty much what the new Xerath looks like. I mean, things may change once he gets released. Things may look different, may even do something different. I'm not sure, but this is what he currently is at. So all in all, personally, I don't feel like the rework is as good as Heimer's, and I also feel like the current Xerath is actually better because he's able to burst people down a lot more effectively, and I feel like it's also easier to hit the skills with him. I'll admit that this one does seem more interesting and more fun to play, but in terms of being useful to the team and doing more damage, I'm not so sure if it's better. The damage does not feel as high as the current Xerath, but again, he does have more utility because he can land skills from a lot farther range, and I mean, it's not too bad, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's the best rework, especially when you compare it to the new one that came out with Heimer. But all in all, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace!